on Online for Authors, I'm chatting with Meg Calvin. She is the author of the memoir, I Am My Own Sanctuary, and she's here to talk with us today about memoir writing and creating memoir magic. Welcome, Meg.
Thank you, Terry. I'm so glad to be here. My stepmom's name is Terry, and I always think it's a little synchronicity when I meet someone who has the name of someone I love. So
yes,
it's so good to be here.
Wonderful. I'm glad that you have a good relationship with her and you're not looking at me and,
Yes.
All right. So you're here to talk with us a little bit about creating memoirs. But before we really dive into that, why don't you give us a little bit about yourself and your background and kind of like what makes you the expert for this particular show?
Yes. So I have a very weird upbringing, which is the basis of my memoir. And that is that I began preaching as a 13-year-old. I was basically raised by missionary grandparents, and I was this ecclesial show pony who would preach and sing at conferences and churches. And so that led to literally being on a church staff, going to seminary. I was getting a church paycheck from age 17 to 32. And so that was the basis of my second book, was telling that self-deprecating story of this recovering people pleaser, this recovering holy roller that I was at that point. And my first book was nonfiction and talked about, it helped those who serve children of neglect or abuse, how to be their supplemental family. Okay. And in that season of my life, that was my calling. And so, that got picked up in 2017. So I've been in the publishing game since 2017, started my coaching business in 2020, and went from helping people write their works of nonfiction or memoir to, in 2023, built a team, and we do everything that authors need to write, market, sell it, Audible, Kindle, paperback.
She does the whole thing, guys, from start to finish, right? I think I read in your bio something about you're the HelloFresh of publishing. Is that?
Yes. And I didn't know that I liked cooking. I married a wonderful cook, and I always thought that was not a superpower of mine. And then when I discovered HelloFresh and they made a personalized plan, they literally sent me the food. I didn't know what was happening 4 weeks from now, but I knew they had me taken care of. I realized I do enjoy cooking. It boosts my mood. It's good to it's really fun. And I do enjoy cooking. And so I try to be that for authors who are thinking, there's no way I can self-publish. There's no way marketing could ever be fun. And I come in as the HelloFresh to make it fun.
Well, wonderful. So we're going to kind of focus on the idea of writing a memoir. And I think my first question is what makes a memoir stand out? Like anybody can write a memoir. You can go and you can write about yourself, and that's good. What makes it stand out? What makes it where someone is going to say, other than the marketing, and I know marketing has a lot to do with it, but when we're talking about the actual written material, what makes it stand out?
What's dropping on my head and is so strong, and I've noticed it in lots of authors, is sitting first in the question of, does my memoir want me to forgive someone before I write it? Because that's two different books. That's two different versions of the memoir. Right. And as you know, with all of your books and everyone that you've helped, the best memoirs are those where there's no analysis or commentary on vignettes from the past. And writing it from that place, we have to zoom out. And what can beautifully happen is we can receive the cathartic gift of healing. Even if we wouldn't call ourselves religious people or spiritual people, a lot of healing can happen when we zoom out and don't let ourselves offer our vocabulary from 2025 or our awareness of child development. Just literally tell the story. And we, in following that literary path, we have the ability to reframe the memory, and that makes it. So I believe from my experience as a writer myself and a coach, that our books, when they birth through us, they can also birth life breakthroughs if we want to receive them. So asking the memoir, do you want me to forgive someone first before I write you or not?
Right. I love that. How difficult is it to write a memoir versus writing anything else?
That is a That has to be the best question I have ever been asked on a show. I love it. I love it so much. I have this little acronym that is the most popular causes of writer's block. This is on point, I promise. And it's the muck and mire of writer's block, and MIRE. And that is a mindfulness block, an identity block, a rejection block, or an emotional block. And those sound similar, but they're very different. And mindfulness, that authors aren't mindful during the day. You being in a place of mindfulness, and then they show up to the keys, or they pick up the pen and they say, okay, muse, show up, but they haven't been all day.
Right, they haven't done anything to help bring it in.
Yes,
right.
yes.
Okay.
And the identity block is, and where I'm going with these blocks is, these are most common in memoir writing from my experience. And they happen in nonfiction, but they happen all the time in memoir writing. The identity block is, speaking from experience, I was always the fun sister. And my older sister, I had to really work hard to get an 86 in high school. My older sister was a smart sister, salutatorian, honors everything. I took honors aerobics. That was my honors class. And and so when the book called to me in 2016, the first identity block I had was, but I'm not
a writer.
Smart. Yeah, I'm not a writer.
This, right.
Yes. So that's the identity block. And then a fear rejection block is, this is a really strong one, probably the strongest. If I write what wants to come through me, I will be rejected by someone I love and someone who loves me. And if I'm rejected, I'm abandoned. If I'm abandoned, I'm alone, and I don't want to be alone. And that sounds really dramatic, but at the root, that is what's going on in the author's heart.
Right.
And then the last one is E, an emotional block. And that is, the book is telling me that this memory wants to be in here, but I don't emotionally think I can relive it. And so all of those blocks being most common in memoir writing, I would say makes memoir writing more difficult than nonfiction, when you can put on your authority hat and teach your skills.
And teach nonfiction, or even in a fictional story where it is truly fictional. And so you can just, you can write it and there isn't anything. So I've written both. So I've written,
I saw that.
Right. And so I have my memoir, and it is, you're putting yourself out there. It's different than in my novels, when I put myself out there because it's my imagination, but this is me. This is what I went through. This is my life. These are the things I learned. And then you put it out there and it's like, is everybody going to be okay? Is anybody going, I worry more that people are going to decide that, oh, I really like her. That's the fear that I have. And you have to kind of be willing to say, it's okay.
Yeah.
Right. Not everyone's going to like me, and it's okay.
Yes.
I'm not looking for everyone, but that's a hard thing to do, especially if you are honest, which I think is really, really important when you're writing a memoir, is that you do the good and the bad and ugly, that you get it all out on page. You can't just be really lopsided and only tell the good stuff. You have to tell the hard stuff too, right? And then I think it's just as important, though, that you don't tell only hard stuff, but that you can tell some of the good stuff too, because that's the way our life is. Even people who've lived a really miserable life have some good memories.
Yes. Right. One of the authors 100%. One of the authors I served, her book dropped July 1st. She mid-50s, and she said, I did not realize there was any light or goodness in my childhood until you walked me through my memoir and asked the questions. And now her book's helping other people.
Right. And so I think it's really important that you have a nice, well-rounded. So that's what you do then, is you help people ask the right questions so that they can get to that well-roundedness.
Yes, I am those table topic discussion boxes.
Yes.
I try to use to be a good parent. Yeah, that's what I am. So not a ghostwriter. I literally believe that the book chose the person I'm looking at in the Zoom screen, and I'm going to ask the right questions to help them niche down what is your character arc. Like for my own sanctuary, it was recovering people. It was people pleaser, minister, to trusting my desires are safe, and then only picking vignettes, which of course that was in 2018. And thankfully everything healthy grows, and I am a better writer now than I was in 2018, thankfully. But then, and so I wish I could go back and strengthen my memoir. And it really is a hybrid. I had an editor say, I just can tell you have written sermons before, and I don't like that.
Yeah. You said, I'm trying, it's hard.
Yes. So mine was definitely a hybrid of memoir and nonfiction, because I did teach. And now I would write my memoir very differently, because I've learned and grown so much since 2018, and how I help. And now when authors come, I help them get clear. What is the book telling them? Is it nonfiction? Is it memoir? Is it a hybrid? And so, but mine, doing a right memoir, in my opinion, in this season, I will say, especially if the author is feeling, I have so many stories, and we're aiming for around 50,000 words, because they're not Cheryl Strayed, they're not Matthew McConaughey. So let's keep it at 50,000, not 120,000.
Right.
Is okay. Now I have my arc. I've gotten super clear on that. What vignettes helped me with this arc? And if they didn't help me, that can be in another book.
Right. And that's okay to say there's another book in me, and I'll do that one later. Right?
Yes.
Yeah. So in mine, it's 10 lessons I learned while riding across the United States on a tandem bicycle. And it's I tell everyone, it's kind of inspirational memoir, and has some guided journaling in it. So I think maybe it's more of a hybrid, a little bit of but it's a lot of memoir. But we were on the road for 3,102 miles, and there are a lot of stories. And that was one of the hardest things for me was okay, I have all these great stories. And so I tell people all the time, if you want to read all the stories, then you need to go read my blog. Because I have a blog that I wrote every single day, and it has everything, and it has what the temperature was, and how many miles we rode that day, and how many flat tires we had. It's everything. And then this book has specific stories that really help to highlight these things that I felt that I learned along the way. So
yes,
yeah,
it makes me think of the importance of asking, when you do have when I have a memory or a vignette, or an author I'm serving has a vignette they love, a memory they love, asking the questions of, I'm sure that you I'm curious if you did this too, asking the question, is the lesson this shows the reader, is that lesson already accomplished by another vignette? And if so, let's take this out, even though I love it, and we'll push it over to a live I do on social media, and make the hovering text be, I cut this out of my book, sad face. And people will click like crazy.
Exactly. No, and I actually have 20 rules, and I got rid of 10 of them.
Oh, wow.
I got rid of 10 of them because I felt this is what it needed to be. I found the perfect publisher that's called 10 Little Rules Publishing. And it was like, okay, well then I need to find 10. Which of these 10 work best together? Now I still have the other 10, and I may very well create another book. Another 10 rules. I don't know exactly what I'm going to call it, but but yeah, you do. And then I looked at them, and it was like, okay, of these rules, which are the most important and which flow together the best? This rule, I love this rule, but it doesn't really fit these other rules. I'm going to push that one to one side. It's not an easy process. And then, like I said, putting yourself out there is a little scary too, because you're letting people see. For me, it was letting people see all my fears and insecurities before I got started, the person that I was, and then who I became as the trip went along. And I like the person on the other end of the trip better than the person who started. But you have to show that whole picture. If someone is sitting there saying to themselves, well, I have a memoir, and by the way, as an author, I have a lot of people that come up to me and say, oh, you should write my story. And it's like, no, you should write your story. But if they have that, I have a story, where do they even start? If you had to give someone, these are a few things that you can do to get started, what would you tell them?
Niche down on your own arc. And I mentioned Cheryl Strayed. I adore Wild, and for so many reasons. And it's a very clear character arc for her. And that was really neat for me when I started learning memoir writing, that, I get to call, this might not be earth shattering for others, but for me, it was earth shattering. Oh, I'm the protagonist.
Right.
Oh, I have a character arc. Oh, okay. That was very empowering. And then, so with Cheryl Strayed, we see her just falling apart at the beginning with this grief from her mom, and then not coming to peace with her grief. What do I want to say? Connecting to her mom in a new way by the end of the book, being able to, there's been so much cathartic release throughout the story. And now she's able to have these healthy, loving relationships with herself and with friends and in romantic relationships, and still feel, so there's this very clear. So yes, that would be the first step is I hear all the time, just like you, people tell me I should write a book because my story, I hear this a lot. What I've survived is amazing. Yeah, that's awesome. You should write a book. Yeah. And then niching down with, it is amazing. And how did you learn and grow? How specifically did your character, your values, your motives, your beliefs, what your heartaches, what changed? Was it workaholic to not workaholic? Yeah. Make it as simple as almost where it sounds simple, but it's not. And that'll help with knowing which vignettes to put in. I will pause because I know that I can be interrupting volcano with words.
No, don't pause. I absolutely love it when people, I mean, when you have a flow going, that's good. So once someone has this idea, like they can say, okay, this is anxious me who just got out of a 14-year emotionally abusive relationship, to a woman who's decided she's going to become an author.
Oh, wow.
And this is my arc, right? Then what do they do from that point?
Yeah. Yes, I have found sometimes it's easier to, instead of going right to putting on a timer and listing memories, that can be overwhelming to some. I have found it's best to actually make a list of people that were your pivots, people that were your big breaks on your healing journey, and make a list of those people. And in doing that, then memories will come up that, oh, if this person hadn't come in my life, I would not have made that conscious change in behavior or attitude that carried my arc forward. And that's also easier, I have found, for many people to be invited to think of others first, then thinking of themselves first.
Right.
And I once read a book on writing memoirs, and the author said, share the things that you would share with a therapist. And while I do agree with that, I also agree with what you said earlier, which was there must be light and dark.
Exactly.
There must be
trauma.
But
I think when they say about that with a therapist, I have a therapist. My therapist asks me good things too. So I think if you have a good therapist, you're not just sitting there for the entire hour sobbing about bad memories. You're also trying to work through to discover the good things and to balance those things. And so maybe there is something to that. You just have to not imagine that what you're doing is emotionally vomiting all over your therapist.
Right.
that you're trying to show a more well-rounded, this is who I am and what I was and where I hope to be and all of the things. So
that is so true. That's what a gift you have to have an amazing therapist like that.
Yeah. Well, I don't think I would do well with someone who expected me to sit and cry for an hour. It is just not who I am. And I just think it's healthy to be able to see all sides of a situation. That's something that I like to do in my personal life. I also like to do it in my writing life. So even my novels, I like to have 2 or 3 points of view and then see this topic from these different points of view, because I know what I see, but I know it's not what other people around me see. And so I like to kind of get a nice view. And I think if you can do that to your own life, it's just more valuable if you can kind of step back and say, okay, let's look at it from a whole angle instead of this little narrow, so I could look at the fact that I was in an abusive relationship for 14 years and I could see nothing but the abuse. Or I can also look at the things that it did to help strengthen me and the things that it did to strengthen my relationship with my children. And and so you have to kind of find a way around it so you don't just wallow. And
Yes.
I have read some memoir where I did feel like we did a lot of wallowing, and I don't enjoy those as
Mhm.
much. I enjoy the ones that have a more positive feeling as you're reading them. I mean, you see that bad things have happened, but
Mhm.
you don't feel like the person is just laying in it.
Yes, I love how you said
Yeah.
that. Yes, you am I hearing you say you like when the author is showing up as the heroine and not just the
Yeah.
victim?
Yeah. And I'm not saying that people aren't victims. I read a memoir the other day, and this person had been in foster care and had been abused by many different people over many different years. I read another one where this man was sexually abused for years and years and years. I'm not saying that there isn't the victim, because there is.
Right.
But are you writing it as a victim, or are you writing it as someone who has come out the other side and you want to explain? I don't know. I like the stories where I feel like we're standing in the light now, and we can
Yes.
look back into the darkness, and we can pull the dark out, and we can examine the dark, but we're standing in the light now. And I
Mhm.
don't know how you would write a memoir, and maybe I'm wrong, but I don't know how you would write a memoir if you're still standing in the dark.
Oh, my ears are tingling inside. That is some truth right there. Yes. Yes. It reminds me, I had the belief that, and it's been proven true over and over again, that there's a perfect timing when we start the book. Even though we've been wanting to write it for 5 to 7
Right.
years,
Right.
it's waiting on us to heal some things potentially.
Exactly. Exactly. My husband recently passed away. He had glioblastoma, and I was his caregiver for 2.5 years. And I've had a lot of people tell me, "Oh, you have so many good stories, and you should write something about." And I said, "Yeah, maybe someday."
Mm-hmm.
But he passed away 6 months ago. I am nowhere close to being able to write authentically about it, because I still am standing in a dark. I mean, I'm not. My life is going on. I'm not.
Right, right,
Nobody needs to panic. But I mean,
right.
when it comes to that topic, there's not a lot of light around it yet, and I
Mm-hmm.
haven't made it out the other side yet. I'm still very much in it, and I think that it's
Yes.
difficult to write a memoir if the thing that is the big change agent in your life, whatever that is still happening.
Well, yes. And if I'm in the middle of my arc, yes,
Yeah.
yes,
Yeah. You
yes.
still feel like you're in the swirling part. And so
Mm-hmm.
I think that's another thing to consider, guys, if you want to write a memoir, is the timing right?
Mm-hmm.
Have you gotten to a place where you can step back
Mm-hmm.
and see the whole picture? Because sometimes you can't yet, and that's okay,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yes. Oh, yes. 100%. I'm thinking of what I have found helpful in listing the people that helped make my arc possible, that led to me making a conscious choice to move differently, is labeling them as we make the list. Are these dynamic characters, or are they static characters? That, like the taxi driver who took me to the last day with my grandmother
Mm-hmm.
before she died the next day. The taxi driver, yes, he matters, but he's not really a dynamic character that I have to share a whole lot about. But I think about Rob Lowe. I know he has kind of a tainted name, but Rob Lowe's memoir, he or his ghostwriter, I don't know who, but whoever wrote that, they did an amazing job of honoring his mom. And it was very clear how lots of beautiful exposition, show, don't tell. His mom was a very important character of his life and helping him on his arc. And it was very, very well done. And so I don't know where I was going with that, but that was also very important when we're listing out people that
I
need to
Yeah,
be in our
no.
memoir.
Yeah, no, I agree. I agree. Are there any other pointers that you would like to share that would just help people who are thinking? Now, one of the big pointers, guys, is reach out to Meg, because she can help you. But for people who are still at that early stage where they don't think they're really quite ready to reach out and get coaching, but they're thinking
Mm.
about like trying to pull things together, is there anything else that you would recommend for them?
This is not going to sound weird to those that need to hear it. Check who else is in your head.
Okay.
There could be another voice that a parent, a guardian, a teacher that you might need to be extra picky with and extra protective of your creative energy. So it's your memoir and it's not their version of your memoir.
So maybe another way to look at it is there anyone that you're trying to please, or is there anyone that you're concerned with the outcome, and so you're going to skate through saying certain things and eliminating other things for this person?
100%. Yes. I love the rocket book that's with my erasable pen. And what I love to do with the authors I serve is when there is a vignette that it's really hard to write because they are afraid they will be rejected, is we write two versions of that chapter. And the first is erasable, and it doesn't matter. And we're going to do a 3-minute mindfulness breathing exercise together. And then we're going to imagine with our mind's eye that person we're afraid to offend or that we really want to impress, that they are cheering us on and they want us to tell the whole story from our perspective. And we notice in our body how that feels to write. We notice how quickly we write. We notice that we cry, that there's not a lump in our throat because we're holding back, we're releasing everything. And then we go to our computer and we type a version of that vignette as if this person is very, very angry at us for sharing this. And we're going to notice somatically, what are you feeling? What am I feeling as I write that? Oh, I notice I'm writing a lot slower. I'm analysis paralysis all over the place. And then when we're done, we have two versions and we can look and say, which one does the book want you to tell? And every time it is the first version. Yeah. So then that leads to, do I need to have a sweaty palm conversation out of love with this person? Do I need to change their gender or obviously their name? What do I do now that I hear the book within me and it's saying, put this in the memoir, this will help someone. So, that is very
and sometimes it can be something as simple as changing a name.
Yes.
Or never mentioning a name.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
I talk about my abusive relationship, and that's how I always refer to it. I have never mentioned his name in public. Wow. Now, I'm sure someone could go look things up if they needed to. Like, the internet's an amazing thing, but I don't mention it.
Yes.
And I do that because the name isn't the important thing. Right? It was the relationship. It was what was happening to me, and it's told from my perspective. And so I don't have to put a name on the person. I can just say, in a relationship in which I was emotionally abused and these things happened, I don't have to state names. And so that's just another option. Is there a way that you can do it without ever really giving the person a name?
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's possible. I mean, I said, I've done it. I get on shows all the time and talk with people, and I've never mentioned a name. And that's just the way it is. And I feel like it's my responsibility to talk about me.
Mm-hmm.
And if he ever needs to get on a podcast and talk about things, he can do it from his thing, but I don't need to do that part. So, yeah.
Well, I'm going to give you all the credit and point people back to Terry Brown. That's so awesome that you've made it a rule that I will not say his name as a guesting author on my own show or in my own books. That's amazing.
I just don't see how it would be of value to anyone. Anyone who may know this person would then, now they feel uncomfortable. In no way can he turn around and point fingers at me because I'm not, I don't know. I just feel like that, and it suits who I am as a person. Mm-hmm. Yes. My story is, and then you can say it, but you don't have to say, and here are the main players. And now we're going to, hang them from crosses down the side of the road as I go down. And, I can just say, this happened to me.
Yes.
So it works for me. I don't know that it would work for everyone. So,
and I'm reminded of the quote by Rob Bell that the energy of the creator stays in the creation. And because as an author, your energy is very clean and you're not vengeful. You are writing to to inspire people and
Right.
help people, that energy of you stays in your work, and that's going to serve so many more people than a book that was written from a vengeful place.
Right. And I think once again, we look back at, are you still in a dark, swirling place? I don't know that I could have really talked about my years of abuse in a relationship if I was still in a place where I was still very angry.
Mm-hmm.
I've mostly forgiven. I tell people all the time, I say that I have forgiven at about the 80% level. I still have about 20% to go. I'm working on it. And it's interesting. There are certain things. It's whenever I feel that this person offended my children in any way, that I have a much harder time. For what happened to me, I've pretty much let that go. It's for things that happen to my kids, a little harder. That's the mama bear. It's a little harder to let that go. But I do think that you have to be at a point where you can feel that way about it. Okay, it's a thing. It happened. It didn't define who I am. It's not a definition of me. It is a thing that happened in my life, and then move on from there. So do you have any of your own personal writing projects going on right now, Meg?
Yes. Similar to you, when I reconnected, similar to what you said a minute ago about it wasn't time yet to write about your husband that's crossed over. I reconnected with my biological father after 33 years. We reconnected 3 years ago. And like you, people came up, you need to write about this. This story's, wow, you need to write about it. And I'm, no. Well, I have written about it now 3 years later. It's a work of fiction. I worked with a coach to learn the art form. It's loosely based on this reunion. So working with beta readers now to perfect it. And I'm very, very, very excited.
Does it have a title?
It does have a title. And
are you willing to share? If not, that's okay.
I love how you asked that, author to author. I love this. I usually am on shows that are for business owners or marketing or the spiritual side. And so it's so great to be interviewed by another just badass author. I am not ready to share the title because I don't want anyone to take it.
No, I get it. No, true. Trust me, I get it. I have a love-hate relationship with titles. How you're supposed to take a work that you've written and sum it up in 1 to 5 words. I hate it. It is. And then when I finally figure it out, I love the title that I've come up with, but it's the getting there part, which is why I always say, if you're not ready to share, I understand completely. So I get that. But anyway, well, good, Meg. I'm glad that something like that is coming out for you. If someone wanted to get in touch with you and talk with you more about memoir writing nonfiction in any way, and wanted to like get help from you, how do they reach out?
Yes. I'm on Instagram at Hey Meg Calvin, and Facebook Meg Calvin, and TikTok Meg Calvin. And then if they are feeling uncertainty, because entrepreneurial thinkers usually have lots of ideas. And so I have this free training that is 5 ways to know which book to write first. And everyone who's gone through these 5 questions leaves with clarity of this is my next or my first book idea. So I will give that to your listeners if you want.
Yeah, that would be great. If you'll give me the link, I'll have that in the show notes, guys, so that you can find out what's that first book that's in you. Meg, I want to thank you so much for being with me today. This has been fabulous. I think we've learned a lot, and I hope that people are start reaching out to you and get on their way to writing a great memoir.
Yes. Thank you, Terry. It's been so much fun to be with you today.
Thank you for listening to Online for Authors, where I, Terry M. Brown, author of character-driven fiction and host of the podcast, introduce readers to characters they'd love to invite to lunch. Tune in next Tuesday for another podcast episode.